Matthew chapter 1 verses 18 through 24. The virgin shall conceive, and bear a son. And they shall name him Emmanuel. This is how the birth of Jesus Christ came about. When his mother Mary was betrothed to Joseph, but before they lived together, she was found with child through the Holy Spirit. Joseph her husband, since he was a righteous man, yet unwilling to expose her to shame, decided to divorce her quietly. Such was his intention when, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream and said, Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary your wife into your home. For it is through the Holy Spirit that this child has been conceived in her. She will bear a son, and you are to name him Jesus, because he will save his people from their sins. All this took place to fulfill what the Lord had said through the prophet. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son. And they shall name him Emmanuel. Which means God is with us. When Joseph awoke, he did as the angel of the Lord had commanded him, and took his wife into his home. Once the arrangement to marry was entered into, there was a betrothal, or a period of time, that was more binding than the engagement period in modern society. A man who was betrothed to a woman, even though not yet married, was exempted from military service. If a girl was already betrothed and was raped by another man, she could not become that rapist's wife, as would normally be the case, because she already belonged to her husband. 2b. The betrothed could only break this legal transaction with a divorce. The grounds for such termination was adultery. They were betrothed for about 12 months, during which time the home was to be prepared by the groom, and the wedding clothes would be prepared by the bride. The bride's family would prepare for the wedding reception. Mary and Joseph were betrothed when it was discovered that she was pregnant. Joseph did not want to expose her publicly, because, as a supposed adulteress, Mary would have been stoned to death. Joseph must have had a great deal of love for Mary, and a great deal of trust in God speaking to him through an angel in his dream, and that faith and love gave Joseph the strength to marry her. Maybe Joseph's trust in God was a character trait that God looked for in a man who was to bring up Jesus. In New Testament times, a man such as Joseph became formally betrothed when he gave a present to the girl and said, "By this, you are set apart for me according to the laws of Moses and of Israel." In an attempt to negate the Church's teaching that Mary was a perpetual virgin, some would also argue that Jesus had brothers and sisters based on verse 25, but knew her not until she had borne a son. The Greek word used for until means up to a particular point in time, but has no implication as to future events. For those wishing to further study this issue, see Newberry's interlinear literal translation of the Greek New Testament, and Word 2193 in New Strong's Guide to Bible Words. As a result of this study, the Church's perpetual virgin teaching is validated, and the until argument is negated.